Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we watched some more Season 2 episodes of The Muppet Show. And these are the ones that aired possibly, we'll get to that, between November 18th, 1977 and December 2nd, 1977, featuring guests Don Knotts, Teresa Brewer, and John Cleese. And we also checked out a performance at the Royal Variety Performance. I guess, I don't know if you do performance at the performance, but we watched that, and we also watched a very, very brief appearance of some Sesame Street Muppets at the Toronto Santa Claus Parade.
And very blurry as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like home video footage from the 70s.
I think those 6 pixels are Oscar the Grouch, maybe.
But before we get to that, the reason I said possibly aired is because, you know, when we started this podcast, I was putting together my spreadsheet of huge list of things that we need to watch, and I ordered all of the dates in order according to Muppet Wiki. And we were wholeheartedly just trusting Muppet Wiki to be, you know, accurate in every way.
Infallible.
Right, which, again, is like sort of sourcing like Wikipedia in your high school paper. Your teachers are like, maybe you shouldn't. And this is why. Because these things can just be updated by anyone and edited at any time. Sometimes things can end up being inaccurate. And it turns out, or at least it seems, that some of the dates in Season 2 of The Muppet Show were maybe just completely wrong. And it doesn't throw our order, like, out of whack completely, but it does change up a few things. For instance, in this episode, originally, according to Muppet Wiki, the airing order was Don Knotts, Teresa Brewer, then John Cleese. After it was updated and verified with some TV listings, it was then Teresa Brewer, Don Knotts, John Cleese. Not a huge thing, but obviously, when we're telling you, hey, this aired on this date, we might just be wrong.
I mean, there's not really it's not really a high stakes situation. The worst that could happen is someone travels back in time to a specific date to watch the premiere of an episode of The Muppet Show, and they get it wrong because of us. Which I guess is pretty bad.
Yeah, they go back too far, and they're like, wait a minute, Don Knotts was supposed to be airing today. What is this?
I have to wait 3 days. This is ridiculous.
So yeah, just know that if you happen to hear us say a date here, and then you go look it up later, and it says a different date, that is wise, because we are just going off of what the wiki said at the time we were recording these episodes or the time we were planning these episodes, and that could very well change because a lot of this stuff, as we've talked about previously, is based on like TV guides and things people find, and these things aired on different days across the country in different states, and so there's always people fighting about which day things actually aired. But before we get into talking about those episodes, I have a surprise for Sam.
Oh boy.
Are you ready?
You think so? Am I gonna be mad? Am I gonna be happy?
I feel like this is something that could make you irrationally angry. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I don't know your feelings on this type of thing, so we'll find out. To start off, Sam.
Yeah.
I need an adjective.
Oh God.
That's kind of
which one's an adjective again? Is that what describes a noun?
Yes. Yes.
Enormous.
Ooh, okay. And then I need a number.
Oh, man. How about 37?
A verb?
Swam. Swims. Whichever one works.
I'm just going to put swim.
Okay.
I think that one works better. An adjective.
Luscious.
Ooh. Enormous and luscious. These are good.
Uh-oh.
Another adjective.
Peppy.
Ooh. A noun.
Ooh. How about fish?
Another adjective.
There's a lot of adjectives in this.
Very descriptive Mad Lib.
Boring.
I feel like you're going to regret that one when I read it. Another adjective.
Another adjective?
Yep. Keep them coming.
Fantastic.
Ooh. Part of the body.
Uh-oh.
This is like you have to make a decision right now, Sam.
Oh, how about just toe?
All right. Guess what we need next?
An adjective?
Another adjective.
Okay, how about stinky?
Ooh, there we go. Now you get into that like dirty Mad Lib.
Well, it could be stinky garbage.
That's true. I just like expected maybe a little bit more blue from you when I got to part of the body.
Well, I didn't want to be really nasty.
That's
Do you want
fair.
me to change it?
No,
Should I
no.
change
That's
it
not how
to
Mad Libs
butt
work.
cheek?
You don't get to
Do you want
change
me
it.
to change
No.
it to butt cheek, Matt?
No, I already wrote toe. You can't
All
change
right.
it.
Did you write it in pen?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
permanent.
You can't change it.
Next up, color.
How many?
We got a few more.
Purple.
Noun.
Oh, how about tree?
Adjective.
Vile.
Ooh. Plural noun.
Underwears.
Is that an official plural?
Yeah. So it says on the package when you buy a lot of underwears.
8 underwears.
Yeah.
Verb.
Pounced.
I'm going to put pounce. Yeah.
Okay.
One last adjective.
Sticky.
A plural noun.
Boogers.
And one last noun.
Butt cheek. Can it be butt cheek?
It can be butt cheek.
Okay.
There's no rules. Sorry for all these small edits you're going to be making there, so that segment was not extremely boring. But here we go, Sam. This is from the official Muppets Mad Libs book
Ew.
that I recently
Okay.
purchased for $3 on the internet.
Did you get it at an airport? Oh, at the internet. Okay.
Just on the internet. This one is about the Electric Mayhem that you just filled out here. It says, the Electric Mayhem Band has been playing enormous style music together for 37 years. Their lead singer, Dr. Teeth, plays a mean keyboard and likes to swim on the microphone. Janice plays lead guitar, shakes the tambourine, and wails as one of the most luscious singers around.
Hey, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's some of these where I'm like, all right, that kind of works. Sergeant Floyd Pepper, which I guess he's officially a sergeant.
Sergeant?
Yeah, it says
Is he
Sergeant
really?
Floyd Pepper. Rocks out on the peppy bass and plays the vibes with lots of fish and soul.
Okay, that sounds kind of Muppety, huh?
It does. Zoot is the boring saxophone player. He's always wearing his fantastic fedora over his toe. Lips plays the stinky trumpet and shakes his and shakes his purple hair like a wild tree. Which
His hair's not purple.
no, but if there's any Electric Mayhem member that looks like a tree,
Yes,
it's
that's
kind of
true.
Lips.
That's true.
And of course, Animal is the vile drummer. He loves drums, underwears, and rock and roll, and bashing.
That's true.
It is. And bashing his drums like he wants to pounce them.
Hey.
You kind of nailed Animal. The Electric Mayhem travels the world in their psychedelic bus, and when they get to your sticky town, it's time to let your hair down, put on your boogers, and shake your groove butt cheek all night long.
Wow. I'm good at Mad Libs.
You kind of are, yeah. I'm mad at like how much sense that made.
Wasn't that mad? It was just more of a lib, huh?
Yeah, you put down your boogers and shake your groove butt cheek. But yeah, that's Muppet Mad Libs.
Well,
maybe it'll come back sometime in the
was-
future.
That was something. I guess it is Muppet content. We have to cover it.
It is,
We have
yeah.
to do all of these Mad Libs.
They are all based around like individual characters. So there's one that's like a Fozzie stand-up bit. There's one that's Statler and Waldorf heckling. There's
that's
Scooter talking about himself. There's Piggy talking about herself. So well, maybe drop some more of those in the future. But let's go ahead and talk about what we're here to talk about this week. Sam, go ahead and tell us what we watched.
It's November 21st, 1977. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, or has already happened. I'm not really sure when Thanksgiving is. And if you live in New York City, baby, it's Teresa Brewer time on The Muppet Show. Who's Teresa Brewer? Apparently, she was one of the most prolific singers of the 50s, according to Wikipedia. And Music, 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 which she sings at the end of this episode, was her breakout hit in 1950 that led her to stardom. But I'd have never heard of her before. In this particularly nasty little episode, Piggy overhears Kermit saying that she's so fat that he's canceling one of her acts, so she goes on a big workout kick. Kermit quickly moves on to insulting her weight openly and to her face because he is a loathsome creature that deserves death. There's even another sexist Pigs in Space implied to be written by Kermit himself. Death to Kermit! And in the end, they try. He is smooshed by a giant blue hand, but unfortunately he lives. So this is a tough one to pick a standout moment from because it's all so unpleasant.
It's a very nasty episode.
It's mean. I was watching it with my little brother, and he was like, "Is this what these are always like?"
Yeah.
It's like, no. I mean, sometimes a little bit, but this one they just don't stop. But there is one scene where it's a bad concept, but Piggy's working out to a TV show, and like Frank Oz's puppetry and the way he characterizes her is really good, and it sort of feels like Piggy fully coming into the Piggy that we know, but she shouldn't wear high heels while she's working out. That seems really dangerous. Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk more about that episode. But anyway, next up, Don Knotts swings by the Muppet Show in what is actually the first produced episode of the second season. So Don Knotts found fame as a breakout character named Barney Fife on the Andy Griffith Show in the early 1960s, and he kind of just stuck around like a lot of these comedy guys, starring in films and popping up on TV shows, including in animated form, and this is probably the first time I ever saw Don Knotts, on a couple episodes of the new Scooby-Doo movies.
Interesting. That's how you know Don Knotts.
Probably.
Huh.
I think I would have been watching Cartoon Network before I was watching like Nick at Night. Maybe not, actually.
I feel like
don't know.
Andy Griffith's Show was on a lot in my household growing up for some reason, so I just knew him as Barney Fife.
Oh, I'm 90% sure you could turn the TV on and Andy Griffith Show would be on right this very moment on some channel. So yeah, I think I'm probably wrong, but I think I probably heard the name Don Knotts said by the Scooby Gang when they open a door and he is in the mansion and they go, "It's Don Knotts." I remember that very clearly in my head. So this episode was apparently co-curated by Fozzie, and the Bear has chosen to close the show out with the jazz standard Lullaby of Birdland. The Electric Mayhem award Fozzie a pair of sunglasses and welcome him into the Hip Dude Club. So then Fozzie spends the rest of the episode wearing the sunglasses and can't see out of them and is bumbling around. Don Knotts also has sunglasses and tells Fozzie that he is also a cool dude. So Fozzie takes that to heart and lets Don play bass in the closing number, which goes so poorly that the band revokes his cool dude status and takes away his sunglasses. Standout moments in this episode are, I guess standout doesn't automatically imply good. So the opening number this episode is a hellish fright, in my opinion, with giant dancing gingerbread men singing a creepy little song. And then at the end, the Lullaby of Birdland thing is very funny, and the Electric Mayhem get to shine, and Don Knotts gets to shine, and there's a nice little kind of like character interaction you don't see as much with the band interacting with a person. But you will not see that part if you're watching it on Disney+. Instead, you will get an extremely muddled, shitty episode.
It's so poorly edited and makes it removes most of the backstage plot, and the ending just fades out and Kermit's announcing the end of the episode and you're just like, that doesn't seem right. And then they even
there's a wipe right in the middle of the thing too.
Yeah, I understand music rights are difficult, but I almost would rather not have this episode on Disney Plus than have the way it's poorly edited, because it is so bad. So yeah, if you are looking to watch this episode and watch the parts that we talk about, which is anything surrounding the Lullaby of Birdland number, watch it on archive.org. The full episode is up there with all of that intact.
So basically, the Lullaby of Birdland is the entire backstage plot, and they mention it every single time, but they are legally obligated to cut every single mention of the words Lullaby of Birdland. And then I feel like they could have kept the name in and they could have just dubbed in a different song or something like that. I don't know. But basically, they're just hard cut around people saying the words Lullaby of Birdland. So for no reason, Fozzie gets the sunglasses, and then for no reason, they are taken away at the end. And that's basically it. Finally, on December 2nd, 1977, extremely prolific and well-known Monty Python founder John Cleese is the Muppets' guest, and he doesn't want to be there at all. And if he has to be there, he will not work with pigs, except when threatened with bodily harm. Then he'll do whatever they say. This episode's backstage plot is very weird, even for the Muppet Show, I would say. Gonzo catches a cannonball, but it stretches his arm out to 5 feet long, and everyone makes fun of how long his arm is. So he goes to John Cleese to help him with this situation for some reason, and John stretches all of his limbs out, leaving Gonzo a tortured, like muddled, hideously elongated mess that we never see again. He's just stuck that way. Standouts this episode include kind of a lot of it, in my opinion. The cold open is cute. They have John Cleese tied up to a chair and they're forcing him to do the show. There's an actually good Pigs in Space where John Cleese is a pirate that is married to his parrot. Sweetums and Robin perform a little song together, which is very cute. And the closing act is very good, in my opinion. Sort of hard to explain. John Cleese is basically refusing to sing a closing number, and Kermit seems determined to torment him until he does. And it's a very fun kind of like chaotic evil Kermit that we haven't seen since like, I know we've seen the chaotic evil Kermit before, like in Salmon Friend days almost. Like when he was hanging out with Harry the hipster, he was being a scamp like this. We also watched a portion of the 1977 Toronto Santa Parade, a Macy's Thanksgiving Day-ish parade, and that is being charitable, that featured a Sesame Street float with Big Bird and Oscar on it. Charitable maybe isn't fair. There were some kind of cool floats. I went through and looked at some of them.
Yeah, and it also apparently predates the Macy's Day parade. But yeah, there were some wild floats. There's a scary car named Blinky apparently in there who has like human eyes.
Oh no!
And not like in a Lightning McQueen type of way, but in like if they just like photoshopped human eyes onto Lightning McQueen, you'd be like, oh god, this is terrifying.
Ew! In the headlights or on the windshield?
On the windshield, yeah.
Ew! What?
It's bad. It's like the first thing in the parade, so it starts off with a bang.
There's a pretty cool Wizard of Oz float.
There's also some cool like dog and cat floats that I don't know how they're moving. Like most floats, you look at them and you can tell that they're like built on top of a car. But this like dog and cat, like they're on 4 legs. Like there's no big wide base. It's a giant cat with like 4 legs and they're like rolling down the street. And I don't understand where like the movement is coming from. If it's being towed by something, I don't know. But so that
it's the first version of those Boston Dynamics robots.
Yeah, it was the proto Spot.
This is reminding me of something. This is an earnest call for help. When I was a little kid, I watched this parade. I think it was the Rose Parade. I don't remember for sure. And there was a float that was it was themed around the Purple People Eater. And it had a big purple monster with a school bus in his hand. And it would tip the school bus up. And there would be people in the school bus and they'd slide into his mouth. If anybody has any idea what I'm talking about, I've looked on YouTube for this a million times, cannot ever find it. If anyone has any idea out there what I'm talking about, please send it to me. Back to 1977. We also watched a segment from the Royal Variety Performance of 1977. I forgot to look up exactly what this is, but I think it's a variety show performed in front of the royalty of England.
Yep, basically. There's a amazing picture of the like greetings that happen before or after this performance, where the Queen is meeting everyone, and there's a lovely photo of her shaking hands, and she's meeting Richard Hunt and Jim Henson and Frank Oz and Jerry Nelson and Dave Goelz, and right behind them is Sweetums.
Who's in the Sweetums suit?
That's a very good question. Maybe they shoved Louise Gold in there again, and she didn't get to meet the Queen, because all the dudes, like our main guys, are all standing there meeting the Queen, and Sweetums is just lurking in the background.
In this performance, Fozzie is too scared to go on in front of so many posh people and royalty, but then he kicks off a string of pig-based jokes until Miss Piggy comes out and puts her foot down on Kermit's throat. They then sing We Got Us, which they also sang on the Dom DeLuise episode recently. And apparently Statler and Waldorf were also in the audience and would pop up throughout the performance to heckle, which sounds very fun.
Yeah, we did not get to see that part.
There's also, so this is cool because you get to see kind of like all of the main Muppet actors performing their signature characters together at one time, which doesn't happen super often. But then Fozzie pops up and Miss Piggy's already there, and it's kind of like, what is going on here? Yeah,
my interpretation of that was that they were probably lip syncing, or Frank Oz was doing the voice and somebody was trying to match Frank Oz's voice in that moment, because you can tell that Miss Piggy's being performed by Frank Oz and that Fozzie is definitely not being performed by Frank Oz in that moment.
It felt kind of old school Muppety as well, even like pre-Muppet Show Muppety, I thought.
Well, it also sort of shows that the Muppets are popular in a way that's sort of hard to contextualize when we're just watching the Muppet Show. Like, we don't know what the audience was feeling at that time. So to watch them be a part of this thing, like a year after the show premiered, they get to be performing for royalty and everyone's cheering and laughing at them, like, shows that they were actually really popular.
It's kind of interesting because it was so clear that the Sesame Street Muppets were a huge deal. But it is maybe there's just not as many talk shows from around this period or something like that. But it is harder to get a feeling for if anybody cared about this set of Muppets or not.
Yeah, like, how popular is Gonzo at this time?
Is he already as well known as we know him now? People didn't freak out when he walked out.
That's true. He
So, I
wasn't
don't
like
know.
one of the main featured characters. I feel like Miss Piggy was already starting to get some love, and Fozzie was appreciated, but I don't think Gonzo was working his way into people's hearts yet.
And Scooter's just lucky to be there.
Yeah, they needed a character for Richard Hunt to perform.
Yeah. It's also funny that Bob Hope, who is hosting it, calls him Jimmy Henson.
He does. He's like,
Seems like an unnecessary dig at him or something.
yeah, little Jimmy Henson and his puppets. It's also worth noting that during this time, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade also happened. We did not have footage or anything of that, but this was the first year that they had a Kermit balloon in the Thanksgiving Day Parade. And some fun facts about that balloon. It was 63 feet tall and 24 feet wide and took 4 hours and 5,220 cubic feet of helium to reach its full size.
I don't know what that is in context with any other balloon.
Yeah, I
but-
assume it's pretty much the same size as all those other
same.
Garfields and Snoopies and whoever's.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there's a good montage that Tough Pigs put together of Kermit balloons and different Thanksgiving moments with the Muppets that you can check out, where Kermit has had a couple mishaps and poppings at the Macy's Day Parade. I don't believe that happened at his first one, but it has happened through the years.
His head looks pretty deflated in some of these pictures.
Yeah.
At least they didn't have to slash him open like they did to Barney. in
Oh,
that
and
one.
just flailing around.
Yeah.
And also during this time, season 9 of Sesame Street debuted, which is notable for having some on-location Hawaii episodes. They
Oh,
went and
weird.
filmed, which we talked briefly about in the episode where we had Snuffleupagus as our Muppet of the Week, because
Right.
there's a whole thing about
He's from
Snuffleupagus.
Hawaii, right?
Right. They're like searching for Snuffleupagus Mountain in Hawaii. And yeah, they do like 7 or 8 different episodes about their trip to Hawaii. But yeah, getting into these episodes, again, in my notes, Don Knotts was the first episode, but he's probably not. So we're going to start off with the Teresa Brewer episode.
Matt, we can do it any way you want to.
I feel like I am beholden to whatever Wiki currently says. And currently it says we should talk about Teresa Brewer first.
Okay.
This is, as we mentioned, a tough episode to get through for anyone, I think. But I would specifically call out first, if you are dealing with any sort of like disordered eating, I would not recommend this episode, because the entire episode is spent calling Miss Piggy fat and talking about how she should be on a diet. And it's just not, it's not great in like by any stretch of the imagination. Like, there are some okay sketches throughout that we'll talk about, and maybe like you can look those up on your own. But yeah, if you're dealing with any sort of disordered eating, would not recommend the bulk of this episode.
It definitely is one that you can feel the lack of diversity of opinions and life experiences in the writer's room, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely feels like we've talked before about how Miss Piggy is often made fun of for her weight and her size, and this feels like the culmination of all of those things, or like a weird let's make the entire episode about that, because we'll talk about this, but like it just keeps going in parts.
Even
where
that, the at the dance is about it, and
the UK spot is
various-
about it. The backstage things that aren't even, you think, things that are going to be about Miss Piggy start to include it. And so, yeah, it's like the joke that they thought was so hilarious that they wouldn't let it go. And maybe people back then thought this episode was hilarious, but I had a hard time finding it hilarious now. And like you had mentioned with the John Cleese episode, like we get a little like a nasty Kermit in that one. But this is like a very like mean Kermit. And that's, it's one of those things where I don't like mean Kermit necessarily, but it's an interesting comparison because a lot of people, when they bring up their problems with more recent Muppet projects like the ABC series, the problems they have with it is that there's like it's missing some heart, or that some of the characters are being mean to each other, or that it doesn't seem like they're a family. And I'm like, have you watched these episodes? Because this does not seem like a family when everyone is telling Piggy she needs to lose weight to be in the show. And like Kermit shows no remorse. And it's just like, this is like, I don't think that's a fair criticism of modern day Muppet projects when you look back at these.
I agree. I think even like one of Jim Henson's kids was upset with how Kermit was so like nasty in the newer series, but
that was one of the main
Kermit's
reasons they said like Steve Whitmire was fired, is because he was playing Kermit as like too like negative.
Yeah, but Kermit has this little sour note in his heart that I think is very interesting, and like especially in terms of like Mickey Mouse tier characters, to have a character who is one of his aspects is that he's kind of a bad boss and mean to all of his friends. And that is consistent throughout basically his entire. It's just such a weird character. I don't know if I could sum up who Kermit is like in 3 words or something. Because he's complicated, but he is complicated in a deeply unpleasant way.
Yeah, and I think that's why to me, like the ABC series does not feel out of place at all, because he's playing that same role where he's the producer whose number one goal is to get the show on the air, no matter who it impacts. If it makes Piggy mad, if it makes Scooter upset, if it makes the crew upset, like. And that seems in line with a lot of the Kermit we are seeing on The Muppet Show. And I think it's maybe like rose-tinted glasses. People are looking back and just remembering all the moments where Kermit's like doing happy feet and those types of numbers, and not remembering.
Or on Sesame Street, kissing children and stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, there's plenty of nasty moments with Kermit. But this episode does open up with I don't know, it seemed like the end of Splash Mountain. This number where Teresa Brewer is singing Cotton Fields on this.
I thought you meant the big blue hand, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, yes, that's fair. There's a big blue hand at the beginning of this show where, Teresa Brewer says she could use a hand, and a giant blue hand comes in, and that blue hand comes back a few times throughout the episode.
Kermit. Yeah. But yeah, this is the zippity-doo-dah scene at the end of Splash Mountain. Yeah,
and we get, it's a pretty straightforward sort of country kind of number that Teresa Brewer is doing here. There's no real, like, joke to it. No. But we get Fozzie being a cute little riverboat captain.
He was very cute.
Yeah.
And my brother told me to write down this. He was telling me to write down stuff as we were watching these together. He said, they're playing a trumpet, but no one has a trumpet. He thought that was an important note to make.
If he's going to focus on the musical instruments, I don't think the Muppet Show is going to be for him, because there's a lot of times where you see a certain instrument and you hear another one.
Yeah, they oscillate a lot between being very precise about how they're playing piano and then not caring that there's no one playing xylophone in this particular moment when xylophone is playing.
Then we get into some of the beginnings of the backstage plot, again, which we've talked about, I think, enough. And then after that is the Pigs in Space, which, again, relies heavily on the idea that Miss Piggy is there to cook for them. And again, we've seen that, like, I don't think the Pigs in Space is supposed to be the wordplay that I was hoping it kind of was. It just kind of seems to be the theme of some of these sketches, is that they're awful to Miss Piggy. The one sort of interesting thing about this version of that is that it falls apart because Piggy refuses to continue the sketch. And Scooter comes in and tries to like wrangle it and be like, guys, you need to do the sketch, Kermit says. And the crew turns it into an improv moment and goes, a hideous space creature.
Yeah. I did like Link's dedication to the scene.
Yes.
It was fun.
Yes, it was nice to see, like, again, like I think we talked about it in the Steve Martin episode, where it's like when we get those meta moments of like you can tell they're putting on a show, or when we get the double booking of At the Dance and Veterinarians Hospital, those are some of the most like standout sketches. And so I think like if we're gonna have a sexist Pig in Space sketch, at least let it fall apart and devolve into chaos.
Yeah, I think like whenever I watch these, I think about your thesis that it could be like about sexism in space. I think there could have been something interesting about like women being treated poorly in the workplace that they did with these skits if they didn't have all 50-year-old men writing the sketches, I'd assume.
And if it seemed like Piggy was going to get her like comeuppance, or I guess Link was going to get his comeuppance at the end of the sketch, where like Piggy ended up winning. Like if it was based around these guys being terrible to her, but she won every time, I think they'd be doing that on purpose. But if that is the case, where the joke is that it's pigs in space, like misogynist pigs, and then Piggy's still not winning, that's just in really bad taste.
They just think it's fun to be sexist in the workplace.
Right. So I like to believe that they're just going for literal pigs in space is the gag, and the sketches just happen to be misogynistic. But after that, we get, I think, the best version of an animal drum solo thing that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
The most Wild Thing.
Sensical.
Yes.
Yeah. A song it would make sense for him to be playing.
Yeah, and he keeps going and going until they drag him away.
Shouldn't he use Janice for this in the background, I don't think. I thought that was a weird choice.
My guess is they already had a Janice in Veterinarian's Hospital garb, and so they were like, well, we have a puppet in scrubs, so she can be the one pulling him away.
They could have made a white lab coat for some other Muppet really quick.
Have Bunsen and Beaker pull him out.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a lab experiment gone wrong.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
Then we have a little Gonzo performance art piece.
I continue to love these because I wasn't expecting these kind of like artiste sort of things to happen as much as they do, like I've said before. I thought it was more something they just mentioned but never showed. So I think it's fun that he wears a little wrestling singlet in all of these lately.
Yeah, I think I was on the same page, where I think the way that they talk about sometimes Kermit growing up in a swamp, we rarely actually see that until like Kermit's swamp years. We don't get to see a lot of that backstory, and so it's like alluded to. And I thought Gonzo was going to be the same, where, oh yeah, the performance artist, but he's our friend. And he had this past as a stuntman or performance artist. And I know we see him shot out of a cannon sometimes, but it is nice that we get a lot more of these than I thought we were going to.
Yeah.
And then we get the run of dieting and weight loss segments where this is the section where I was really like, oh God, this is the whole episode. Because we get a backstage section in the dressing room where Teresa Brewer and Miss Piggy are back there, and Teresa Brewer is just eating all of the candy and desserts and sweets that you can possibly imagine. And Kermit comes in and thinks Miss Piggy is eating all the stuff and gets mad at her because how dare she enjoy herself?
Yep. He gets his face pushed into a cake, but not really like appropriate reaction.
I also think if that had been the end of the weight loss running gag, like after the pigs in space thing, she walks off and then she shoves Kermit's face into a pie, boom, okay, done. But that's definitely not the case, because the next thing we see is another At the Dance segment, and every single joke is about weight loss.
Yeah.
Even down to the very end where they fall through the floor because somebody weighs too much. And then we get the UK spot, which if you remove the context of this episode from it, I enjoy it. Because it's a wild song of Dr. Teeth just performing to a cheesecake about how much he wants to eat cheesecake.
Yeah, he's a weird choice for this one, too.
It seems like it was a song that they would have given to Rolf because it's a UK spot, it's a piano thing. But they were like, this is a little weird. We should probably give this to somebody weirder than Rolf.
Rolf seems like somebody who'd really like a big slice of cheesecake, though. Dr. Teeth seems like somebody who only, like, he does, like, the David Bowie thing where he only, like, does cocaine and eats, like, chili peppers or something.
I mean, yeah, I think you're like spot on. That's exactly how I picture Dr. Teeth's downtime. This sketch also does end with Miss Piggy chasing the cheesecake.
Yeah.
But then we move into a string of sketches that I really actually did enjoy. If there's some bright spots in this episode, the next few are those bright spots. I actually liked a Crazy Harry thing, which astounded me.
That his autograph is just a burned hole through the page?
Yeah, Teresa Brewer is going through her book of autographs that she apparently collects from famous celebrities, and Kermit's a little mad that she has not asked for his. And one of her pages is just like a burned page with a hole through it. And he's like, what happened there? And she's like, oh, that's Crazy Harry's autograph.
Crazy Harry had a couple good moments this week. I kind of liked him this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't typically enjoy any of his antics, but this was I think a perfect use of him. Yeah. And then Animal shows up to offer his autograph and just signs Teresa Brewer's forehead. And then we get a really weird, surprising, something I would have like almost thought would be a UK spot. But we have Scooter doing a little cute dance, performing at the hop, and just a bunch of frogs come around to hop.
Is this the first Scooter act?
No, we saw
he did the dancing bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the most like unceremonious one, because the dancing bear sketch was like the plot of that whole episode that he was going to be performing. This is just him showing up, performing at the Hop, and
Uh-huh.
yes, all of our little Frog Prince frog friends are back.
And they ruin it.
Yeah.
Which, frankly, if he had just been straight up singing at the Hop and dancing like that, would have been a pretty boring act. So
yeah, if he had just
they
been
did
looking at
him
the
a
camera
favor.
for 2 minutes, just like, let's go to the Hop, you'd be like,
Yeah.
all right. And so moving on from that, we see, I think, a delightful sketch of Teresa Brewer
Yeah.
and Sweetums.
I like this one.
Yeah, usually they give Sweetums like the dancing number, like he gets to dance with the star. But in this one, he's pushing Teresa Brewer on a swing, outside swing, like on a tree, and hijinks occur.
Are there inside swings, Matt?
Well, what a great question you've just asked me. That
I guess there's sex swings. I don't really know what a sex swing is, but
I mean, they're less swingy and more of like a holster.
sure.
But yes, to your point, the 99% of swings are outside.
Yeah.
I think like a tree swing to me was different from like a playground swing. And
Yes.
the only, for some reason, word I thought of was it's an outside swing.
And even more outside-y kind of swing.
Yeah, it's a nature swing. But yes, there are a few different gags that go with this where either like Teresa Brewer flies off the swing or she does a full 360 around the branch and kicks Sweetums in the
Yes.
butt.
All based around the opening lyrics, what goes up must come down. And then she doesn't come down, and he's confused in various ways. But yeah, and it has good use of Statler and Waldorf to like break it up and reset the scene. Yeah, I like this one too.
Yeah, and it gives
I'm never gonna think it's as funny to have big monsters dancing with like women as the people who make the Muppet Show seem to think it is.
Yeah, no, I think like that whole thogification of some of these characters where it's just like, isn't that funny? They're big and
Yeah.
goofy and they're dancing with a pretty lady.
Yeah, it's funny for the first 10 years you did it, and it's not quite as funny anymore.
Then that's followed by the Miss Piggy working out number that we mentioned earlier, where she's for some reason working out in stilettos and like shiny, glittery stilettos and tights.
I was excited to see her little sweatpants with her tennis shoes pop up because I knew that was about to happen, but I was a little disappointed that they just used her same old legs that they always use. Oh, my brother also had a great point. He said, isn't she like a black belt in karate? Like, this should be easy for her. So it doesn't even work with her character, really. She is the Muppet most prone to fits of amazing athleticism and strength.
She does definitely in different movies like jump off of things and tackle people and
rollerblade.
Yeah, that's all the same sequence we're talking about, but yes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, she tackles people in all of them.
Yeah, she is a prone to tackling. But then we get Teresa Brewer's hit song, Music, Music, Music.
Yes, she's disconcertingly tiny.
Yeah, she is, those like little table jukeboxes you see in like 50s diners. Apparently Floyd and Animal are hanging out at one of those because there's a little jukebox on their table that Teresa Brewer is built into, and they have
and
to...
I assume can only play this song also.
Probably, yeah. And it starts off with Animal putting in some coins, and Floyd keeps telling him, you gotta put another nickel in, because one of the lyrics in the song is put another nickel in.
Yeah.
So it, that's the thing. But we get, this is sort of one of those where I think, this is one of those sets where David Laser probably didn't love it because it's a very big, elaborate set that has a very specific purpose.
Maybe by season 2, he was like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, everybody
you crazy
loves
kids
us.
will do whatever you want. This skit I remember because it said Nickelodeon, and that was the first time I was like, what is a Nickelodeon besides the channel Nickelodeon?
Yeah, what is this? They didn't have Nickelodeon in the 50s. How do you put a nickel in a TV show? But yeah, I think, again, there are some standout moments in this that we've talked about, but overall the episode kind of left me bummed out.
I agree. There's not enough good to outweigh the bad. Even though, it's unfortunate because it does have like a great Gonzo part, a great Muppet Labs part, but not really worth watching in the end.
But that means next up is the Don Knotts episode, which aired presumably on November 28th, 1977, but was
Who
the
knows
first
anymore?
produced.
What's real?
Nothing is real, Sam. This whole podcast is a sham. Apparently the whole thing of this episode is that Don Knotts is playing against type because he never gets to play the cool guy. And so they wanted him to come in and try to be a cool guy. And, I don't think they really succeeded.
No, I don't think he could possibly be cool, ever.
Yeah. Sorry, Don Knotts. Or I guess the family of Don Knotts now.
Sorry, yeah. Ghost of Don Knotts. You're not cool.
The opening gag during the theme song of Statler and Waldorf just being late was kind of weird. Like, usually we get a little one-liner from them, but in this, they're just running in. They're late. And I guess maybe because it's the first episode of the season, that's the joke is like, shit, we're late to season 2.
They reused that in another one, too.
Yeah, and I think it's just... I think it works if you watched this one first in the season.
Yeah.
But because nobody did, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But then, yes, we get the lovely Gingerbread Man number that you alluded to earlier, Sam, which is definitely the thing of nightmares, but also, I think, a little cute.
Their eyes shouldn't be red. They should have given them green eyes.
They're
I think that would have
gumdrops.
made all the difference. Well, I know that, but they are green gumdrops as well. If they had given them different color eyes, I don't know. Those guys in the back are just too big, too.
Yeah, we got 4 human man-sized gingerbread men dancing around in costumes that have just like the deadest eyes and faces that are like frosting faces that just don't move, even though they're singing. And it's very weird because in front of them you have a little puppet gingerbread man who is singing and has a movable face.
He is cuter.
Yes. It's them dancing and very robotically because they're flat and made of cookie. But I think what makes me happy about this sketch is imagining Jim Henson, Jerry Nelson, Richard Hunt, and Dave Goelz like rehearsing this, not in costume, and just them like flopping around doing their little robotic gingerbread man movements.
Okay, yeah.
Like the idea, like there's often I have these moments when we're watching things where I can picture Jim Henson performing Kermit. Like I can picture that man with his hand up in the air. But there's some characters he's doing, like the Swedish Chef or Dr. Teeth sometimes, where I cannot picture what Jim Henson looks like below that frame and how like manic he must be acting down there to get that performance out. And this is one where picturing Jim Henson doing this dance just breaks my brain a little bit.
That's weird. Yeah, I mean, he must have done tons of dances like this, but he has a stately air when he is not behind a puppet or inside of a big suit.
Yeah, there's a picture on the Muppet Wiki from the Bernadette Peters episode that we talked about last time where she did her number with the 3, where she's with like Sweetums and Thog and Timmy Monster.
Right.
And there's a behind the scenes photo where it's just like Louise Gold and Dave Goelz and Jim Henson like happily dancing behind her in their rehearsal. And so like seeing that picture and then watching this, all I can see is those weird 70s looking men dancing around like gingerbread men. And that makes me enjoy it more.
You turn me around on it. That is pretty cute.
It's still a nightmare. It's still...
Yeah, it still looks horrible. And they're still bad, but...
Yeah, we got the backstage plot of Fozzie helping to plan the show, which isn't necessarily as like fulfilled as a lot of the other like Fozzie like taking over the show because Kermit was sick storylines that we've gotten.
Yeah. That was my big note for this whole episode, is that it would have been fun if there was clearly a delineation, whatever that word is, a dividing line between what Fozzie picked and what Kermit picked. And
right.
If one had been like really shitty or one had been like all vaudeville or something like that.
Yeah, like half the show is just clearly different, whereas it seems like Fozzie just picked one song for the band to perform.
Yeah.
And that made the whole show different, apparently.
And he picked the next act that we're going to talk about, which is something that I wouldn't even think Fozzie would like at all.
No. The next thing is the Muppet is just called A Screaming Thing. Is maybe the most stressful Muppet sketch we've ever watched. The Screaming Thing is singing a song called The Windmills of My Mind. And as we've talked about many times, what do? When you're making a Muppet sketch? You find a song and you remove as much metaphor as you possibly can. Yeah. And so he's got these weird windmill legs that he's running in place with. It's like, a cartoon when they're drawing a cartoon and you see like 3 versions of the same leg to like show
Spin
that.
it around.
Yeah, the motion blur thing. And he's just running and picking up speed and he seems really stressed out. And it was stressing me out the more and more he was doing it and I didn't know how it was going to end. It freaked me out a little bit. I didn't like it. I enjoyed the concept, but it stressed me the hell out.
I almost thought that maybe Jim Henson wrote this song because it felt like a timepiece type of thing. Or that song he sang about clocks, that like novelty record he put out about the clocks. Remember that song?
Yeah, what was that called?
I can't remember. Clocks, maybe. But it felt like something Jim Henson would have written, and it felt like something he would have made in the 60s when he was a little bit more like wigged out about the grim specter of death or something like that. And he would have sat on a talk show and over-explained it, and then shown that.
His song was called TikTok Sick, by the way.
Oh yeah, bad name, Jim.
But it definitely it definitely had that feeling of like, okay, we're speeding up, we're feeling this weighing on us. Like it's a very good sketch in that it conveys the emotion that they're going for, because you see that this is happening inside the thought bubble, inside the head of this Muppet, and he's stressed out, and you're supposed to feel stressed out like him, and you definitely do.
Yeah, and then if Fozzie picks this, it makes you wonder, what's going on with Fozzie? He might need some help.
Oh, poor Fozzie. I didn't even think about that. Don Knotts then does a little sketch that's, I think, somewhat similar to the Dom DeLuise adoption sketch that we saw previously.
Yeah, but it sucks.
Yeah, it's Beast of the Week, which seems like a weekly show that he's putting on where it's just like looking at a strange creature. This time it's a baby, like little fur ball that apparently is Mean Mama's baby. And it just kind of escapes from its cage. It makes some cute Frank Oz noises. And some of the puppetry is kind of impressive. Like I say some.
It's like popping out of his clothes and like going up his leg and stuff.
Yeah, but there's other times where it's clearly just like on a string and they're just like pulling it any direction and it does not look alive at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you said it sucks. So would you care to elaborate?
Oh, I think describing it as like a worse version of the Dom DeLuise thing is a pretty much all you have to say about it. It just is long and flat, I suppose. It doesn't really show off like Don Knotts that much. It's only got one joke basically that goes on forever. For like the what I assume is supposed to be like the big segment for Don Knotts, it doesn't do anything for me. You don't see him very much in this episode, so for this to be the thing that they waste him on, I guess is kind of like whatever.
That's true. He does show up very, very little. He's in the opening thing, obviously, in his dressing room. But then he gets this. He gets one talk spot that's really brief with Fozzie.
Yeah.
And then he shows up for the final song.
I think a thing about the Teresa Brewer episode, another like sad part of it is she's in that episode a ton. And it is like technically a good usage of the guest star, except she's also being mean. So
yeah, because that's the thing is like I think she worked really well with the Muppets. She seemed like she folded in very naturally into the group. But the fact that like a lot of her stuff revolves around picking on Miss Piggy, not great.
Yeah. I also like that she got to be the opening act. I feel like that makes a difference if you see them right away.
Yeah, it caught me off guard
feel more
almost.
like
I was like, oh, we're actually doing that. Because there's a lot of times where Kermit comes out to introduce the show, and it feels like he's about to introduce the star. Because he's like, we have a great guest tonight, Teresa Brewer. But first, this thing. But this was like one of the few cases where that actually happens.
Sometimes you won't see him for like 10 minutes after that, too.
But wrapping up the thoughts here on the Beast of the Week sketch, I'm presuming this is why Mean Mama is called Mean Mama.
I just looked them up at Wiki, and this is her premiere, and also why she's called Mean Mama. Yeah,
that checks out. I love the characters that are named after one appearance.
Yeah, like the lunch encounter monster.
Yeah, like this is the only time that they act at all in according with their name. But there you go. That's your name forever now. I guess that's why like certain Muppets get renamed willy-nilly. Like apparently Behemoth has been renamed Clean Gene for some reason.
Behemoth is a much better name.
Behemoth is a much better name. I'm never calling him Gene.
Though.
Unless he, like, to my face asks me, like, hey, actually, I prefer to be called Gene now. I'm like, okay, sorry, sure. Gene. But I think it's just Bill Beretta saying, hey, my brother's name is Gene. I'm going to call this puppet Gene.
Yeah, not really a good enough reason.
But this then leads into a thing that I'm worried about Waldorf in this episode.
Oh my gosh, me too.
He seems to be suffering from a huge bout of like forgetfulness, and just not even knowing where he is at times. And Statler seems kind of concerned as well at moments. And yeah, it's like genuinely upsetting at moments where he doesn't know what he's watching. He doesn't know who's on the show.
Their whole running gag this time is that he just is having extreme memory issues. He might even be sick with something else. He's got indigestion at some point. That maybe is a different episode.
He definitely
His thumb hurts. Was that one of these also?
He was not well. Waldorf was not well in this episode.
Not at all.
But somebody who is great in this episode, Fozzie.
Fozzie is really good in this one.
Because he's so uncool, but he's so happy when somebody tells him that he is cool.
Yeah. It has the energy of when Grover is being like Hollywood Grover, and he's like, "Hey, baby." And I love that. That's such a good Frank Oz mode.
Yeah, it's just the fact that like Floyd gives him these sunglasses. He thinks that makes him like the coolest guy on the planet. And just the running gag of sunglasses apparently being completely blacked out and you can't see anything.
So dark that you can't see through them. Like sunglasses had just been invented in 1977 or something like that.
Yeah, because it happens multiple times in this where Fozzie puts on sunglasses and then just runs into a wall. And then later on...
Or like is looking the wrong way at the audience. Like he's looking at the curtain instead of the audience.
Yeah, and Don Knotts puts on sunglasses later and then walks off the stage to his death, presumably.
Presumably he's dead now, yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting that it's like that's the gag is like we're all just supposed to accept the fact that apparently sunglasses make you completely unable to see anything.
Yep, I've seen pictures of Jim Henson wearing sunglasses. He knows that's not true. He's just lying.
Jim Henson is a liar, folks. That's what we're here to expose. Jim Henson, he is a liar. Sunglasses, you can wear them; they're safe.
And see through them. In fact, you can drive in them.
Yeah. A little bit of continuity happens here. The vet's hospital patient this week is the guy who was running in the dream in the first sketch.
Yeah, how did they show the audience the dream, too? A lot of questions raised by that first act. They also call it the opening act, and it's not the opening act, which bothered me as well. Because Kermit comes out and he's like, and for this opening act, we're going to have Fozzie explain what it is. But we'd already seen the gingerbread man thing. Maybe
that was like a fever dream that no one got to experience except for the audience.
Yeah, maybe so.
Then we get the brief moment of Fozzie and Don Knotts just talking about being cool guys and wearing sunglasses, and that's when Don Knotts walks off the stage.
I thought I missed talk spots more than I do. I didn't really.
I missed good talk spots.
Yeah, I think them interacting behind the scenes with the guests is better than having talk spots, which they're doing more often.
Yes. And then we get a somewhat really, like, I don't know, a very sweet, if you don't think about it too much, moment of Rolf singing with a sweet little puppy, and he's singing "What a Wonderful World."
Yeah, he's done this. He did this in the Jimmy Dean thing. He sang a song to a puppy. I don't remember what song it was, but he definitely had a puppy.
Yeah. And I usually like when Rolf is, like, interacting with, like, live dogs, but this one to me felt a little weird. Like, I don't know, like, it's very sweet, but I listened to Muppet Turgie's episode about this episode, and they were all speculating that the dog might be drugged.
That's what I said, and that's what I said too. And Wilbur was like, "No, Wilbur's my brother." He said, "No, he's just a good boy."
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I think that dog has something wrong with him."
I want to believe that it's just a very sleepy puppy, but there's times when like Rolf is like lifting up his head and moving him around, and that dog's barely blinking, and I'm like, it is the 70s. They might have just like slipped him a Benadryl or something, and.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Same exact feeling I got.
Yeah, it looks like a very sleepy dog in a way that, like, as someone who had a puppy,
drunk.
I don't remember ever seeing my dog look like that unless she just came back from the vet.
Maybe they knew one of the staff members' dogs had a vet appointment, and they were like, "Let's get him in here.
Move, quick, before it wakes up."
Yep.
Right before that, we actually get a weird pairing that we don't normally get to see, which is Animal and Fozzie.
Oh, yeah, because they're both Frank Oz, right?
Yeah, and so we don't often get to see them interact. And this is a pretty brief one where Animal just, like, tackles Fozzie.
And smashes him against the floor.
Yeah. But it was one of those notable things that now that we've talked so much about who performs who on this, that it is worth, I think, pointing out, like, oh, yeah, those two are normally performed by the same guy. And who knows how they were doing it this time. But we'll probably never know.
I guess he could have been down there doing the voice for both of them or something.
And then we get the final number, which, again, if you watch this on Disney Plus, you will not see. It'll very weirdly cut off, and the show just ends. It's very bad. Don't watch that version if you can avoid it. We get the number with the Electric Mayhem called Lullaby of Birdland, and yeah, it's I think it works well. It's weird that it's the last number. I feel like this would be a good opening number.
Oh. Well, I think just because they've led up to it so much.
Yes.
Like, they lead up to it so much, and it is good enough as like payoff that it was worth leading up to the whole episode, I feel like.
That's true. And I think like aside from Disney Plus like editing things out, like just if you're watching the version without this, the episode this is such a good number. Yes, and this number is so good that it feels very, very missed when you watch the Disney Plus version because we get Don Knotts playing through the music. First, he's trying to use a bow on the bass. The Electric Mayhem's basically calling him out for that being not the way you do this.
He's using sheet music to play jazz, which they also call him out for.
Oh, and my favorite is like Dr. Teeth is like, sheet music? I haven't seen that stuff for years.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be true. He may have had it in the Cheesecake Number. Who knows? But then he switches over to playing with his hands, and as they speed up and try to get faster and faster and faster, as the Electric Mayhem normally do, he apparently goes so fast that he spontaneously combusts.
Yep. And he's in his little underwear.
Yeah, or at least the bass combusts, and it explodes. It leaves him with just the neck of the bass in his hand, and it blows all of his clothes off.
Yes, his big pinstripe suit blown right off his body.
But it looks like Don Knotts is having a lot of fun in that moment, which I really, really enjoy. Like throughout this episode, he does a really good job of playing that nervous, fun Don Knotts kind of guy.
Yeah. I also this reminded me of the first time you see the Mayhem, basically, is when they're being mean to Julie Andrews. And I think I just like them being mean, maybe. Which they are pretty mean, but I like when they're directly insulting someone who's trying to play music with them. I think is a fun combo.
Yeah, because it's clear that they invited the person to join them, and then they're like, but you kind of suck now that you're here. We kind of regret this immediately.
Yeah. I also would assume Janice knows how to play bass, so they could have just asked her to do it.
That's true. Speaking of the Electric Mayhem, they just put out a new music video as part of this climate change special YouTube put together, where they're doing a cover of Mr. Blue Sky, and it's really.
I did not watch it yet. Is it good?
It's pretty fun. It's very Zoot focused, which is weird. He is I
noticed that he's probably the same puppet, but he didn't look as weird.
Yeah,
maybe he was just lit weird in Muppet Haunted Mansion.
I think that might have been it because he looks very weird in Muppet Haunted Mansion, and I think part of that might be is because in Muppet Haunted Mansion they're wearing their outfits from Muppet Christmas Carol, but the Zoot puppet is like a newer puppet than the Muppet Christmas Carol one. So I think it's like a mix of old costume, new puppet didn't mesh well.
Too small of sunglasses still, though.
Definitely too small of sunglasses. And next up we have from Monty Python and Fawlty Towers and A Fish Called Wanda and many, many other comedic things, the John Cleese episode of The Muppet Show. We'll see him again in The Great Muppet Caper. He is not done with the Muppets.
Oh, he's so funny in The Great Muppet Caper, too.
Yeah. It is worth noting, I think, if you happen to keep an eye on John Cleese and what he's up to these days, he has a new show coming out called John Cleese, Cancel Me, where he talks to canceled people and the people who canceled them. And he basically just seems like a very out-of-touch old man these days.
He's been around too long.
Yep, he should probably retire and disappear from the public eye because he keeps continuing to make racist and transphobic comments on Twitter and in interviews, and then going to play that's not what I meant. Clearly, I meant this thing, and it's but even if you were naive, you keep doing it.
British people, man, they got a lot going on over there that they got to figure out.
Yeah, and so, John Cleese these days, out-of-touch old man, says a lot of offensive things, defends J.K. Rowling, that kind of guy. So, at the time, though, this was a big get for the Muppet Show. People have often referred to, the Muppets as, Monty Python with puppets. And I think when you get one of those Monty Python guys to come in, it's definitely a get. But yeah, you said you rather enjoyed this episode. I had sort of mixed feelings on it, but I guess why did you enjoy this one so much?
I had a feeling you'd have mixed feelings on it.
Why is that?
Because you sometimes don't really like comedians who are a little bit meaner, I feel like.
Yeah, that's fair. I also don't like him in almost everything he does in this episode.
He was the standout for me. When this episode was over, my brother said, it felt like he helped them write that episode. This episode was funnier. And he did, apparently. That doesn't surprise me. That's what I said. I said they kind of let their guests do as much or as little as they wanted to, and it did feel like it felt like he wrote the whole Pigs in Space, basically, because that was such a Monty Python kind of skit. And that was what I really liked the most, I think, of all of it, was that he was married to his parrot was very funny to me for some reason, and that they squabbled like married people, but then by the end of it, it was clear that they were indeed married to each other. I didn't think there was any skit in particular that was bad. I thought it all flowed really well. I think in retrospect, the Gonzo subplot should have been addressed, and he should have walked out huge and spider-like, terrifying at the end of it.
Basically like a boss man puppet version of Gonzo.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought I thought that John Cleese's final number, where they kept dressing him in different costumes, was like one of the best things that we've seen. Just mostly because Kermit was like, I liked when John Cleese is like, I'm not gonna play a maraca solo, and Kermit's like, it doesn't have to be a solo, and then a bunch of other people with maracas come in. I laughed so hard at that part. I even like the Coosbane thing again, and I usually hate Coosbane stuff, but yeah, I just thought it was like a very solid episode. Why did you hate it?
I think largely because I don't like John Cleese. And it's sort of
You don't like him ever?
not. I mean, I like A Fish Called Wanda. I enjoy that movie, but I've never really been a big Monty
I
Python
hate
person.
A Fish Called Wanda.
Why are we doing this podcast together, Sam?
I do not find who's that guy? Who's
Kevin
the lead in
Kline?
it? Oh, I hate Kevin Kline.
Oh.
He gives me such weird vibes.
I think I enjoyed Wild Wild West so much as a kid that Kevin Kline has a place in my heart.
I'll have to watch that again and see if I like him. But Fish Called Wanda, he just seems like he's acting, and I can't not see him acting, I think is what it is.
Yeah, see, I've never been a huge Monty Python guy either. Like, all my friends were super into Holy Grail and Life of Brian and all that stuff in high school, and I was just like, yeah, it's fine.
Well, yeah, I liked that stuff in high school.
Yeah.
I wouldn't watch it again because I have such fond memories of it, but
It might be ruined.
I guess I'll watch it someday. But yeah, I liked it in high school.
But this episode starts off with John Cleese being tied up in the back, apparently being forced to be on this show, which is a nice little thread that runs through the entire episode. And then we're followed up by my second favorite jug band, Lubbock Lou and the Jug Huggers.
They show up too much, I'd say. I don't know why they use they default to jug bands so much in the Muppet Show. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Lubbock Lou and the Jug Huggers are fairly prolific Muppets. Probably the least famous Muppets with the most screen time on the Muppet Show.
Yeah, especially the mustachioed man.
The lead guy, yeah. Slim or something like that.
I did notice Zeke is the one in the band who's like in the background. I think he's like a little bit of like a proto-Lips.
That's what I was going to say, too. It would have been fun if there had been an episode where he, like, shaved his beard and he was like, I'm Lips now.
Yeah, call me Lips. I'm not Zeke anymore.
Yeah.
But then we get the setup for the Gonzo's arm elongation, where he just gets shot with a cannon. That's his whole act. It's just gets shot with a cannon, which somehow extends his arm. I'm not exactly sure how that worked.
He gets shot by Crazy Harry in another nice Crazy Harry moment.
Yes.
Where it makes sense that Gonzo would be friends with the stunt coordinator and like the pyrotechnics side of the Muppet Show.
Yeah, and if you're going to put somebody in charge of the cannons, obviously Crazy Harry's the one to have there.
Obviously, yeah, he's trustworthy. So that this leads right into the backstage plot where Gonzo's arm is long, and me and my brother were both like, why is his arm long? And it would have made way more sense if he had caught the cannonball clearly in his hand, stayed still, and then his arm extended behind him as he was like, whoa, 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 and it wouldn't stop. I don't know why they didn't do that.
I think that's what's supposed to have happened, because he's supposed to be catching the cannonball. Like, that's the whole thing.
Right.
But it looks like he just gets completely destroyed with the cannonball instead.
Like in the torso. Like
yeah.
He gets shot in the torso with it.
Yeah,
Yes.
Homer Simpson style.
But if he had stood stationary, his body, and the arm with the cannonball had stretched out behind him, then this whole episode would have been much less confusing to me.
Yes. That is very fair. I think that is I think that's probably what was happening according to like the script. But I think we just did not get that visual very clearly laid out to us. Yeah, we get a couple brief, even though one of them could have been briefer, and I would have liked it more, sketches. One is the Muppet News Flash, where the newsman is talking about a man who has learned to make Italian dinners out of wool. And I don't really know what the joke was, and it just keeps going, and I didn't chuckle once.
There's like a part where it seems like it was supposed to be the punchline, but it's actually just the end of the setup, and then he tells the joke, and it's about like knitting meatballs or something, and
it also
it's almost funny because it's so stupid, but it doesn't quite work.
It also sort of felt like a setup for one of the season 1 news flashes, where it would have cut to John Cleese on the monitor being like
knitting a meatball,
exactly,
knitting some spaghetti, which actually would have been good if there had been like a plate of knitted spaghetti. I kind of wanted to see it,
because he even starts off by like saying like Dr. William Edgar in Chicago, so he's like naming a character in a place with an accent. Like, I was fully expecting like a John Cleese Chicago accent to be coming out of that monitor.
Oh, that would have been fun.
I think it would have been very, very bad. Then we get Rolf playing the piano, apparently playing a song called Rolf's Polka, or an original
I'm just
number.
seeing that as well. That's fun.
But yeah, a chicken just randomly joins him. It seems like interrupting his fun little piano playing time.
Feels like the payoff to the running chicken playing piano thing. And this was one of the last episodes of the season. So that kind of feels like that's what they were maybe going for.
Yeah, that would make sense. Like, we have a number of the chickens playing piano things throughout, so maybe this is just another version of that.
Yep. And at the end, the chicken lays an egg, and the egg is the fucking nastiest egg I've ever seen in my life.
It just looks like a rock. Like, it doesn't,
Yeah,
like...
it's huge and covered in, like, gray goo.
Yeah, like, that's not what chicken eggs really look like.
Oh, they should have used a real egg. It looks like the chicken, like, pooped a really nasty poop that's, like, hard.
And Ralph's like, this is an egg! And you're like, I don't think so, Ralph. You might not want to touch that.
Bringing it around and showing it to all the Muppets backstage.
I'm going to eat this egg!
Ralph, I don't know.
No, it's going to taste great! And then we get the Pigs in Space with Pirate John Cleese, which I hated.
You hated it? I liked it so much.
I really did enjoy the parrot relationship of him being married to his parrot. I enjoy that part of it. I hated the other 80% of the sketch.
I honestly can't even remember what the rest of it was about. I think
it was
they
just...
end up shooting at each other.
Yeah, to me, I think they're just like the character that John Cleese insisted on playing in this felt obnoxious.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess so. It's funny. It's a pirate in space on the wrong kind of ship. I guess. I don't know.
I also wish that like Dr. Strange Pork and Piggy had been there because we just get to see Link.
I thought that was very strange. It's not like there's another character. Or I guess the parrot maybe is being played by whoever plays Dr. Strange.
Jerry
Pork,
Nelson, yeah,
not.
that's true.
Yeah, but Piggy could have been there, but Piggy would have just popped him in the nose. That would have been the end of that.
Yeah, maybe they're like, okay, Piggy can't be here because she'd be too effective.
She would actually shoot him.
Yeah. And then Miss Piggy is pregnant.
Yeah, I was like, is she pregnant or is she kneeling? What is supposed to be happening?
She is a pregnant, jilted bride in this UK spot where she's singing a song called Waiting at the Church. And yeah, the plot of this music hall song is that apparently Kermit knocked her up and then was told her he was going to marry her, but then said, oh yeah, by the way, my wife says I can't marry you.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun little nasty song. I liked it.
Yeah, and I think it works. It's like similar to the one that we saw with Kermit and Miss Mousy previously, where he was a terrible person again. But I like putting Kermit in this position and also having him and Piggy do this because it's clear that like this is not supposed to be like a canon sketch. Like this is the two of them playing characters, and I like the two of them like performing together.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. It does seem like Kermit is afraid that Piggy is going to trick him into marrying her, which I thought was fun. And I like at the end when he's like, now take that pillow out from under your dress. And she's like, I like it.
Yeah. It felt like a very good little Frank Oz moment.
It does clearly seem to me that Miss Piggy and Kermit are secretly hooking up behind the scenes and that Kermit just does not want to admit it to anyone.
Well, if that's true, then after the Teresa Brewer episode, I'm going to tell Miss Piggy to dump him because he was
Kermit's
awful.
got some major red flags. Yes.
Yeah.
Kermit is not a good partner.
You know who are good partners, though?
They really are.
Sweetums and Robin.
Yes.
Who I feel like we last saw in The Frog Prince when one of them was trying to kill the other. Guess which one?
I think that's got to be... Well, they both were trying to kill each other alternately.
That's true.
Robin was trying to kill him first.
That's true. And he was also trying to trick him into killing himself at one point when they were like in the... Yes.
Robin is just as bloodthirsty as Sweetums is.
Yeah. But they've the fences have been mended. They are friends performing a sweet little song together in some very impressive puppetry from Jerry Nelson. And the staging of this was very well done, where it often looks like Robin is just like an actual little frog hopping around Sweetums.
And like sitting on Sweetums' arm and on his hand and all over the place. It looked great.
Yeah, and if you think about it, obviously like Sweetums is like leaning up against the chair, so you know Jerry Nelson's arm is like perfectly hidden. But it's well done enough that if you just watch this without thinking too much about it, because you don't have a Muppet podcast where you think too much about things, it's very convincing.
Yeah, it looked great. It's very weird that Sweetums is sitting on a giant medieval throne singing this song that is not about giant medieval thrones or anything like that. But I guess maybe that's just Sweetums' demand when he performs, is that it must be cave and dungeon-like for him.
Yeah, and the chair raises those questions again because like it was supposed to be Gonzo performing with Robin, not Sweetums initially. And so it would have been even weirder if we had Gonzo and Robin performing with a giant weird medieval throne.
Yeah, it's like the dancing bear situation where the skit makes absolutely no sense in its original incarnation.
Yeah, if you think too much about the canon of the episode of why they're doing the sketch they're doing, none of it checks out.
It would have been so fun if Gonzo had gotten to do an act with his long arm.
Well, speaking of his long arm, the next thing we get to see is sort of the payoff for that long arm, where we see him go to John Cleese for help, and John Cleese just makes everything worse, but in a way that is very, very cool visually. He pulls Gonzo's arms and legs in alternating pairings, and ends up with basically Gonzo having 5-foot-long arms and legs, and is sitting there completely perplexed, does not know what to do. He can't really walk or do anything.
No, horrified with the new state of being that he has to accept. Maybe this is canonically why Gonzo's a little bit taller now. He went back, he gooped back to how he was before, but just a little bit more stretched out.
But yeah, I think that it was impressive the way it was done. Like, there was no moment in that where I could, like, sort of see where the arms were unspooling from, or the secrets behind how they made Gonzo stretch out.
Yeah, it was really cool, and it was also, I thought this was a really good John Cleese moment, because he's so frustrated by how ingrateful Gonzo is that he's ruining his life.
But yes, then we get another Coosbanian moment. I like this universe we're building with Coosbane, that there is a number of different kinds of aliens on the planet Coosbane. This one is the Coosbanian Spoople. Yep. Who is just a jar of liquid, which I think is an interesting visual gag, 'cause clearly it's being done with like sort of a green screen kind of technology there.
Right.
And yeah, the payoff is that the Spoople gets drunk.
He's killed live on stage.
Yeah. And then yes, the final number, which you mentioned earlier, is basically a forced medley, like trying to force John Cleese into singing The Impossible Dream, and he's just like, Kermit, I am not a singer. This is not what I do, which becomes ironic very quickly after this sketch. Yeah, it's, I think, really well handled and does show a different side of Kermit.
It does seem like he's got an axe to grind with John Cleese, too, somehow.
And then after that, I'm just now realizing, as I look at, as I Googled this, this was one of the reasons I hated John Cleese on this episode. Is because immediately after this, during the closing of the episode, he's promoting his next album, which I thought was a real thing that he was promoting, and I was like, what a dick. But apparently it's a completely fake album.
Yeah, he comes out with an album called John Cleese, A Man and His Music, which is just an extremely subtle joke to top off this really like elaborate musical set piece right before it.
Yeah, and apparently got me, because I think because of the Steve Martin episode where it pretty much was a commercial for his real album that had just come out. This felt like, oh, okay, this is why John Cleese is here, is to sell this album that apparently doesn't exist. I guess my opinion of John Cleese has changed ever so slightly. 70s John Cleese, modern day John Cleese, opinion remains the same. But yes, the reason I disliked him at the end of this episode is not a good reason to actually dislike him at the end of the episode.
Great. I'm glad that you made this character change, this growth.
There was one thing that happened at least once throughout this string of episodes that I noticed, is that we see the old audience shot again. We see the old black box audience, at least in the Don Knotts episode.
Right.
So they clearly had not built this set that they use for the Steve Martin episode yet, where it's like the full theater auditorium.
Yeah. They needed a budgetary reason to build a better audience set.
Yeah. They're like, hey, David, we got a cool idea for an episode that's not a real show. Can we build it? And he's like, fine, but you have to reuse it. He's like, okay. But yeah, I think overall, like, this was a sort of like middling batch of episodes for me. I enjoyed a lot of the individual sketches, but like, I don't enjoy John Cleese as a human, and I don't love the backstage plot of the Teresa Brewer episode, and I also wish Don Knotts had been used more. So there's like little things like throughout this that sort of just like brought it down.
I would agree with that, except the John Cleese episode is a top tier one for me.
And that's purely up to taste, because John Cleese is just not for me.
Yeah, I think it does really feel like though, like he dived into the Muppet Show completely and was like, here's what I want to do. This is going to be so fun. And that kind of like comes across in his episode. I feel like he puts himself in it a lot. He gets to scream at Muppets and be mad at them, which is fun.
All right then, Sam, that is everything we watched this week. So that means it's time for our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week is a Muppet that we have seen many a time before. He's one of our oldest friends that we have not yet talked about. Do you have any guesses?
One of our oldest friends we haven't talked about. We've talked about almost all the Electric Mayhem. Oldest friend that we've seen before. We talked about Sweetums. No, I have no idea. Who is it?
It's Mr. George the janitor.
Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, no. Do you not like George?
Well, I got sick of him in season 1 being in all the wrong places, you know?
That is fair.
And he's still in the beginning of every episode. He's one of the people marching out, which every time to me is just like, that's not right. He shouldn't be there.
That's
He's
fair.
a janitor. Get back there.
What we know about him? Not a lot. But he loves his mop, something that we found out immediately upon first meeting him back in 1974.
He romantically loves his mop. in
Yeah.
fact.
We first met George in the Muppets Valentine Show, the Mia Farrow special. He's been around since before a lot of our Muppet Show Muppets. And yeah, we saw him a lot of times just, being the janitor of the Muppet Show. He always talking about how he loves his mops. He loves the rag mop segment. But we also get to see him a number of times dancing with Mildred and at the dance. And there's sort of like an implied relationship there that we don't learn a lot about, but it seems like they're happy. Maybe they're just like off, retired on a beach somewhere now.
Maybe so. He's still there. He's just mopping in the background.
That's true. And we also, again, saw him randomly pop up in different choruses of Muppets that we didn't really enjoy that. But he will be replaced as a janitor by Beauregard in the 3rd season of the Muppet Show. So we will have a full-on replacement for George the janitor later on. And apparently in the comic books, the Muppets comics that came out several years ago, the two of them appear in the same issue at one point and look at each other like, wait, what are you doing here? He does appear more going forward, but mostly he's just appearing in the credits in the opening number at this point. But we will see him a few more times in our watchings. He pops up in the background a few more times in the audience shots and some stuff. And he also obviously shows up in the Muppet movie ending, where every other Muppet is, and the Muppets Take Manhattan wedding, where every other Muppet is, and in the Celebration of 30 Years special, where pretty much every other Muppet is.
Every other one is.
But he also does pop up in the Muppet Christmas Carol. Briefly, he has a line in the opening, There Goes Mr. Humbug song. He also is in Muppet Treasure Island and appears on Muppets Tonight. And it seems like throughout the 90s, he was kind of used a few times as sort of just kind of an anything Muppet, like wasn't necessarily playing George playing those roles, but was just kind of like, hey, we got this puppet lying around.
Right.
But he was performed by Frank Oz for his run on The Muppet Show and on The Muppets Valentine Show. And even in The Muppet Christmas Carol, he was performed by Frank Oz as well. But there have been a couple other performers, at least. In 1976, on Des O'Connor Entertains, we watched that clip where they were all around the table, and there was a few Muppets in that sketch that had different performers because you had, like, Waldorf talking to Kermit, and those are both Jim Henson. So Jerry Nelson was Waldorf in that scene.
Right.
In that scene, Richard Hunt was the one performing George the janitor, who is not really playing, like, a janitor, really, in that scene. That was a weird little thing we watched. But again, later on in the mid-90s, George pops up a couple times on Muppets Tonight. The first time he pops up, he's playing Benjamin Franklin and is apparently performed by Steve Whitmire in that episode. And then later on, he does show up again as a janitor one last time in the Garth Brooks episode of Muppets Tonight, but I am unsure of who performed him in that. So that's the last time we have seen George was as a janitor in the Garth Brooks episode of Muppets Tonight. So full circle, started as a janitor, ends as a janitor. And now I would usually talk about family and fun facts, but guess what? Not anything to say about George.
Possibly married to Gladys at this
Nope,
point.
Mildred.
Mildred. Who's Gladys?
I don't know that there is a Gladys.
There's a Gladys.
I don't think there's a Gladys.
Let's look at Muppet Wiki, huh?
There's a
There's
Gladys cafeteria lady who appears in like one episode of season 3. That's definitely not who he's married to.
No, well, I can't even remember the name that it's supposed to be anymore, but possibly her.
So, if you had to rate George the janitor, what would you rate George the janitor?
Well, gosh, he just is immediately outclassed by Beauregard. Like, as far as janitors go on the Muppet Show. It's so funny to me that they made the Muppet Valentine Show and they were like, we're going to make a whole new show, and these are our cast of characters. And one of them is George is the most boring Muppet janitor that ever has existed. And they kept trying to make him a thing, I feel like, and it made me resent him. So I'm going to give him 1.5 stars.
Wow.
I don't really like George. I don't like seeing him at the beginning every time and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to give George like a 37.
Yeah.
Like, he's not
I
very
feel
highly
bad
ranked.
doing it,
Yeah.
but nobody wants to see that.
It is what it is. We got to go with our gut. Well, before we go, did you have time to watch any non-Muppet things this week?
I didn't watch much. I watched a few episodes of Haunting of Hill House because it's still Halloween. I don't think it is anymore by the time this episode comes out.
No,
but
this will come out
okay.
on November 1st, so it's just after Halloween.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm speaking from the past, but I've been playing Metroid Dread,
Ooh.
which I like a lot. Everyone's like, it's so hard. Not that hard. I almost beat it all in one
Not for
sitting.
you, elite gamer.
But it's the new Metroid game. If you're unfamiliar with Metroid, it's like very exploration based platform shooting, old school Nintendo style game, where you are like running through this environment and you keep getting upgrades to your little spacesuit that lets you traverse things and kill guys better. And it's just like feels like Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo, which is one of the best, most genre defining games of all time. This fits right in with it. How about you?
I started watching The Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, I wanted to talk about that. I was going to watch the last episode and then complain about it, but
I've
I didn't
only
watch the
watched
last episode yet.
Yeah, I've only watched like the first 2 episodes, so we can't talk too
Okay.
much about it.
Okay.
I also know that it's a newer show, and I don't want to spoil it for people who are listening. But yeah, it's a Steve Martin Short, and Selena Gomez project. You know, one of those old things.
Yeah.
But I actually like Steve Martin in this, which we've talked previously about my sort of distaste for Steve Martin. But yeah, I am enjoying it so far. It's not my favorite show I've ever watched, but 2 episodes in, I'm happy with it.
What I really don't like about it, as a podcast producer, is there's a lot of scenes later on. You haven't gotten here yet.
Yeah, they're just starting their podcast venture right now.
Where they'll be like, we have to publish an episode in 2 hours. And then in 2 hours, it'll be like, good thing we did that. And they're like, there's like scenes where they're like recording live and like not editing anything, but then somehow play like a clip later and there'll be lots of like really produced music, but there's no one editing it. Like it doesn't show an editor or anything like that. And I think it would have been fun if there had been a character that was their editor and they just like kept him in a closet and they like open the closet and scream at him every now and
Yeah,
then.
there's just like a neighbor that
been...
they're always just like, hey, we need you to edit this right now.
Yeah, that inclusion alone would have improved the show for me in terms of mental strife it causes me by seeing people think you can make a podcast in 2 hours.
Especially like an edited podcast. Like you can record in 2 hours and just upload that straight to the internet. But if you want to edit it and make it good, you're going to have to do some work.
But it's fun. It's a very fun watch. It's a very strange little show, but it's a fun watch.
Yeah. And again, like similar to Steve Martin, Martin Short is not somebody I typically enjoy.
Oh my gosh, you're a monster. I love Martin Short so much.
Oh man, Jiminy Glick is one of my least favorite things I've ever seen.
You know where Jiminy Glick is from?
Hell?
Butte, Montana. No, he's from Butte, Montana, where I'm from. Isn't that weird?
He seems like the least Montana person I've ever seen.
I know. It's like they just picked a name, especially Butte. He would be eaten alive and he wouldn't last a second.
I'm guessing he was born in Butte and escaped very quickly.
But it would be fun. I know they made a Jiminy Glick movie where they mention this, but I don't think they go there. It would be fun if it was like Zoolander, where Zoolander's like got to be a miner for a while, you know?
Yeah.
Remember that part?
Yeah.
It would have been fun to see Jiminy Glick as like a miner. Maybe he'd be really good at it. He'd be like driving a big dump truck. I think that'd be fun.
He'd end up just like floating in the pit. That's the scene I'm picturing. It's him just like
Yeah,
on his
that would
back,
be cool.
just like, oh, it's great for your skin.
Well, for somebody who hates Jiminy Glick so much, you do a good Jiminy Glick impression.
Well, maybe one day I will defeat Jiminy Glick and become the new Jiminy Glick.
You're Jiminy Glick Jr. No, it'll be like the Santa Claus. You'll kill him and then you'll turn into him.
I just got to push Jiminy Glick into the Berkeley pit.
Yeah.
What do we do now? Oh, yeah, we end the episode.
In the show. Yeah.
So next week, we are taking a bit of a detour from the Muppet Show Season 2 because they're making a movie, Sam.
A TV movie.
Yes,
right?
yes. It is time to watch the 1977 TV special Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Wow, I've never seen this, so I'm excited.
You've never seen it?
No, I've seen bits and pieces.
Wow, that's wild. And we will also be joined by a very special guest, Catherine Green, who absolutely loves Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. It might be her favorite movie. We'll find out.
Gonna have some star power.
But before we go, we want to thank our friend Tuna for creating the music of this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at CommitmentPod, where you can find us talking about, fun Muppet things and tweeting out little audio teasers where we talk about Sam Eagle's penis and those types of things. And you can email us at mail@commitment.com if you have any sort of Muppet memories or just cute Muppet stories that don't fit in a tweet that you want to share with us. And you can follow me everywhere on social media at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.